It is Tag Tuesday and I am here with the April Showers book tag. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life. Today I am back with another tag video. I was tagged by the lovely Kat at Cat and Too Many Books to do the April Showers book tag, which I believe she said is an older book tag that she discovered from a few years ago and I love the questions in it and I thought it would be really fun to do this one, so that is what we are going to do today. Since it is April and it is springtime, I did try to think of books that I thought would be appropriate to read at this time of the year, especially if you are a seasonal reader like I am and you enjoy reading books that are set in the time of year that you are reading them. And not all of these qualify necessarily, but quite a few of them do. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of inspiration for some things you could read if you're looking for something to pick up right now. And without further ado, let's dive right into the questions. Question number 1 is share a book with water on the cover. And I'm going to share Mornings with Rosemary by Libby Page. This was originally published under the title The Lido, and I'm not sure why they changed it. I think they only changed it for the American editions, I guess because Americans don't know what a Lido is, which is like a public swimming pool. I prefer the old title, but I wasn't able to get it with that title when I purchased this. But this book is the story of Rosemary Patterson, and she's lived in Brixton, London her whole life. And her local Lido, which is where she has always swum every day, is going to be closed because they're going to develop some housing. So we follow Rosemary, and then we also follow Kate. And she has moved to Brixton and she's feeling very alone. And she was a writer, and then she is assigned to write about the closing of Lido. And she comes to meet Rosemary and they develop a relationship, and it's just all about what happens between this older woman and this younger woman and their friendship and about community. And it's such a lovely story. It's been quite a few years since I've read this one, and I think I might pick it up next month and reread it because it is such a lovely, heartwarming, life-affirming story. And it does start in the springtime, though I think it goes throughout quite a few months of the year and maybe longer than that even. And it's just sweet and really a wonderful story, and I cannot recommend it enough. This is definitely one of my favorite books. Question 2, what's a classic novel you'd like to curl up on the couch with? Well, right now, the classic novel that I would love to curl up on the couch with has to be I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. And this, I'm sure many of you are already aware of. It is a wonderful coming-of-age story about Cassandra, and she lives in a castle with her family, and she's 17, and it's about her coming of age. So yes, there are some young American men in this that she and her sister meet, and it's just about growing up and falling in love and all of those lovely things. And I just love the eccentric family in this, and they live in this rambling rundown castle, and it's just such a wonderful story and perfect to curl up with on the couch, maybe when the weather is not so great. So I'm probably going to do that later this month. Question 3 is to share a scary book that you would read during a rainstorm. Well, first of all, I don't read that many scary books because I am a wimp when it comes to things like that. In my younger years, I definitely read scary things, and I've read lots of thrillers and things like that. And while I enjoyed all those when I read them, I don't necessarily know that they are things that I would want to curl up with necessarily now. But I do have a book on my shelf that is something I think maybe most people haven't heard of, and I wanted to share it. And while it's not scary, it's got kind of a disturbing twist to it, or not twist, but this has a very unique and maybe slightly scary protagonist in this book. and that is An Elderly Lady Is Up to No Good by Helene Thurston. And this is actually translated from, where is this from? Oh, from the Swedish. So I'm just going to read you the synopsis on the back of this so you can kind of get an idea, but this is a tiny little book and it was so surprising to me when I read it, and I think it'd be perfect to curl up with during a rainstorm. It says, ever since her darling father's untimely death, Maud has lived in the family's spacious apartment in downtown Gothenburg, Sweden, rent-free thanks to a minor clause in a hastily negotiated contract. That was how Maud learned that good things can come from tragedy. Now, in her late 80s, Maud leads a solitary existence, and she likes it that way. Over the course of her adventures, or misadventures, this little bold lady will handle a crisis with a local celebrity who has her eyes on Maud's apartment, foil the engagement of her long-ago lover, and dispose of some pesky neighbors. But when Detective Inspector Irene Huss and Embla Nystrom are called in to investigate a dead body found in Maud's apartment, will Maud finally become a suspect? That's all I'm going to say. I think you should just read this. It is such a quick little read, and you can probably read this in just about one sitting. And there is actually a sequel, which I have on my shelf, but I haven't read yet, and I'm really looking forward to. And this would definitely be a good book to curl up with during a storm. The next question, question 4, is what's a good book recommendation for rainy days? And I am going to go with something that I think is just a really fun read that you can get easily immersed in. And that is Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson. And this is such a wonderful book. I finally got a Persephone edition of this, which I'm so excited to have on my shelves. And I'm looking forward to rereading it very soon because it's been a few years. And they've made a movie out of this, which maybe you've seen with Amy Adams. And I'm forgetting who plays Miss Pettigrew now. It's escaping me. I will put it on the screen here. And the movie's wonderful, but the book is so very good. Miss Pettigrew is a governess, and she's been looking for work. And instead of being sent to look after some children, she gets sent to look after a nightclub singer. And over the course of 24 hours, she becomes sort of embroiled in her life and all of the wonderful farcical shenanigans that happen. This is like the best kind of movie from like the golden age of movies, only in book format. And it's fast paced and it's just fun and so light and frothy. And I just love it. I think it's delightful. And I think it is the perfect book to curl up with on a rainy day and just lose yourself in it. And you can read this in probably close to one sitting or maybe two. It's very short and wonderful, and I can't recommend it enough, as I keep saying. Question 5 is, what 2 characters would you like to spend a rainy day with? And I was kind of debating how I wanted to answer this. I mean, there's lots of different characters that I think would be interesting to spend a rainy day with, but I decided to go with 2 characters from mystery novels that I really love. And that is Ruth Galloway from Ellie Griffith's Ruth Galloway Mysteries, and Mrs. Polifax from the Mrs. Polifax Mysteries, which is new to me, but I enjoyed this so much last month, which I talked about in my wrap-up video. And I would just think it would be so fun to sit down with these ladies over a cup of tea on a very rainy day and just talk about all of their adventures, because both of them have led very interesting lives, and I think that would be really fun. And while Ruth sort of stays close to home in northern England, Mrs. Polifax definitely gets out and about and sees the world. So you're getting kind of 2 different perspectives on women who have been involved in different crimes and adventures that have happened in their lives. And I think that would be really fun to kind of see the contrast of those 2 discussions. Question 6 is to share a book that has blue on the cover, and I picked Foster by Claire Keegan. And this is a book. Claire Keegan is such an amazing writer. She can say so much with so few words. All of her books are very slim. I mean, even you look, the font on it, I mean, it doesn't take up very much space on the page. You can read these in one sitting, but they are the kind of books that you just want to immediately go back and reread and see exactly what she has done. And I read Small Things Like These a couple of years ago. I read it twice in one year. I loved it so much. And I read Foster last year and really loved it. But it was funny because when I was reading it, I was having a lot of like anxiety about what was going to happen to the young girl in this story. And it's not really that kind of story. It's sweeter and more poignant than that. It's about this young girl and her mother is going to have another baby, and she is sent to live with, I think they're like her, I can't remember if they're her aunt and uncle or somebody sort of related to her. She's sent to basically get out of her mother's way so that she doesn't have as many kids to take care of, and she's sent there for the summer. And this couple doesn't have any children and they take her in, and it's just about what happens to her over the summer and their relationships. And it's really, really interesting and such an unusual dynamic, especially between the husband and the young girl. And I really, really loved that. And I want to go back and reread this again because I think now that I know what happens in the story, I will just come at it from a different perspective and be able to really get into the language that Claire Keegan uses in this. And her descriptions are just so beautiful. And she just has an amazing way with words. I can't say enough about her. She's one of my favorite modern authors writing today. And like I said, she can do so much with so little. Highly recommend. And question 7 is, what book has a rainy setting at some point? And for this, I decided to go with The Stormy Petrol by Mary Stewart. And this is one of Mary Stewart's romantic suspense novels. And this one takes place in Scotland, like the Scottish Isles. And in it, there is a storm that plays a huge part to the story. And it's central to our main character, who is Rose Fenimore. And she meets 2 different men during the storm that come to seek shelter in the little cottage that she is renting. And so the storm plays a really important role in then the subsequent actions that happen in the story. And I love Mary Stewart, and I think this is, actually it's set sort of at the beginning of summer, but I think you could read it in the springtime just because of the nature of where it's set. And like I said, this very big storm that happens. And so any time between sort of now and June would be a wonderful time to pick up this book and read it. And it's fantastic, as all of Mary Stewart's books are. All right, question 8. This is kind of a funny one. I like this. What book would you not mind using as an umbrella? And I'm assuming that you wouldn't mind using it as an umbrella because it's not a book that you would care if it got destroyed. So that is how I'm taking this question and its meaning. And for that, I am going to share a book that I actually just DNF'd because it was not the book for me. And that was A Girl's Guide to Kissing Frogs by Victoria Clayton. And it's kind of funny because I love books set in the ballet world and about ballet. And I have now read 2 books so far this month, and we're only like a week into April. I've already read 2 books about ballerinas, and neither of them were good. I didn't enjoy either of them. The other one I finished, and I'll talk about that in my monthly wrap up. But this one I DNF'd. I DNF'd this only about 40 pages in. There is some content in this that I am not one who needs a completely closed door romance. But this had some disturbing encounters between our main character and a man that I couldn't. I mean, the first one happens in the first few pages and it's very icky. I mean, this cover makes it look like this book is so sweet and light and frothy, and immediately starts off with this very dark tone, and that's not at all what I was expecting. And I went and looked at some of the reviews of this, and it doesn't appear to get any better. It sounds like the romance is very convoluted. There's like, it's more than just even a love triangle. I think there are 3 men involved with this woman, and it is a chunky book. And I'm not willing to invest time in something that was already making me feel ew from the get-go. So yeah, not the book for me. It feels very dated to me as well. Yeah, not good. So we could definitely use this as an umbrella if we needed. At least I would. Question 9 is, what character would you like to share an umbrella with? I think you could go one of 2 ways to answer this question. You could either go in the direction of somebody you want to share an umbrella with because that's very romantic to be standing in the rain under an umbrella with someone. I decided to take it as I want to share an umbrella with somebody who is going to take my mind off the fact that it's pouring rain and we're stuck under an umbrella together. And I decided to pick one of my newest favorite characters, and that is Emma M. Lyon from the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. I am loving this series so much. I am planning to read volume 4 in April, and this is the story of Emma, and this is in the year 1883, and she's just returned to London after sort of having been sent away to be a companion to an older woman who is not very nice. Anyway, she's returned to her family home, which she has inherited, and her cousin lives there because he is sort of the caretaker of the house. And it's sort of convoluted, but once you read the story, you understand exactly what the situation is. And Emma is so witty, so funny, so charming, and I would just love to spend a little bit of time with her under an umbrella. I think she would definitely keep me entertained while we wait out the rain. So that sounds wonderful. And then the last question for this tag is, share a novel with a dry beginning but an amazing ending. And I really struggled with this. I just couldn't think of something that I've read where the beginning just like didn't really wow me, but the ending was like, oh my gosh. I think I tend to gravitate towards books that are interesting from the get-go. But then I did think of one that I read, I think this was 2 years ago, and this is a classic, and that is My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. And this book, it does start out, the beginning is maybe not as engaging as other books that I've read. I won't say it's like boring or anything, but you know, it's sort of getting you situated in the story and letting you know who all the characters are, and maybe it's not the most engaging at first, but the story really ramps up, and by the end of it, it is like, wait a minute, what just happened? Like, this is a book you want to talk to somebody about when you finish it, because it's got a kind of ambiguous ending in terms of like, who's the bad guy here? And not everything is clear, crystal clear at the end. And I think this is just powerfully done in that respect. So it goes from just this sort of sedate, feels like a very traditional classic novel where, you know, we're getting the perspective of this young man, and then it becomes something just really kind of chilling at the end. And I thought that was really well done by Daphne du Maurier. So I definitely recommend this one. If you've only read Rebecca, this is definitely another one you should add to your TBR. Okay, so that was it. That was the whole April Showers tag. I hope you enjoyed that. I only have one last thing to do, and that is to tag a few other people. And again, thank you to Kat at Kat and Too Many Books for the tag. And I am going to tag 3 people: Emily at Woldenburn Reads, and then Gina at Gina Stan Your Books, and then the Mild Rumpus, who tagged me a while back in another tag. If the three of you are interested in doing this tag, I would love to hear your answers. And if not, of course, that is okay as well. Thank you all so much for watching this video. As always, if you could give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye.